Today we're talking about training considerations for women in midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s.
But then you start training at 50, you could actually reverse that 10 years.
You don't need to use heavier weights as a progression.
And cardio impedes muscle and strength the most.
Getting into my prime, I'm 6 months from 40.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just getting into my prime in terms of like composition, muscle gain.
Yeah. And you really could be. Depending on where you started, like I said, at RP, we split it up into age groups of 15 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 60, and then like 60 plus. That's kind of the age-related groups that we break stuff into when you're going to talk about really big changes to those things that we were talking about, like structural changes in the GI tract, in the large intestine, the hardening of those arteries, calcium decreasing, bones getting weaker, things like that. So depending on where you started in that 15 to 30 range, if you started at like 20 something, yeah, it makes sense that 40 is your prime. If you started at 40, 50 might be like, that's your prime.
Yeah.
Like they put on the most muscle they're going to, and they're like feeling the strongest they've ever felt in their life. Which is so cool, especially when you're training like females 50 plus, 40 plus, like that's
Majority
awesome.
of our clients are 45 to 60.
That's
the
amazing.
vast majority. I do see that. I see the clients who are starting from scratch at 40, getting better and better, even though like common belief is that like if you're 40, you're over the hill. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I remember my parents getting like 40 over the hill birthday cards, and it was like the shape of a tombstone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel very far from that right now.
Oh
Like
my
very, very far from that. So it's like, if that was your belief, so many people think, okay, I'm a woman 40, like people kind of write you off already. They give you the pink dumbbells. You're not
100%.
capable of learning weight training.
100%.
That's not true. Like if you start now, 50 can look vastly different for you.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about like, what is the reason that people come to you? Well, first and foremost, especially if it's like 40, 60 plus, they're concerned about their health, right? Women in the 40s to 60s still probably also like, I want to look good naked.
Yeah.
Like that's it. I just
Look hot.
straight up, I want to look good naked.
Yeah.
That's like the majority of why people go to personal trainers, even bodybuilders. Half the time, that's why we start. Like, we just want to look good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to look down and be like, dang, I can't see anything down
I
there.
wanted arms.
Stomach's in the way.
I started lifting weights because I wanted definition.
Yeah.
And I never had that. You know, I was an athlete growing up, so I always had like good legs for the most part.
Yeah.
Now my standard of good legs is totally different. Like,
Great. The best legs in the world, literally.
standards have changed. But I just wanted like definition in my arms.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally as basic as it got. And I was late 20s
Yeah.
when I really started taking bodybuilding seriously. And I oscillated for a long time, for probably the 6 years. I would get in great shape. I won shows. I won the overall and a couple figure shows. Did really well. And then I would 6 months out of the year get fluffy, gain a little weight, had bad diet, didn't know what to do. And I would say in my late 30s now, I've been the most consistent year round, focused on weight training, like not cutting,
Man,
eating more food.
That's where you make your best gains, you know? Like you said, you started mid-20s, and this will be your prime in the 40s. So like if they started young, 15 to 30, and 35 is their prime, let's say, the biggest things you gotta be concerned about is the joint integrity. Recovery from injury goes down as you age, no matter what. Again, offsetting a lot of that as you get into weight training, especially if these females are coming to you and they've never touched a weight, a 50-year-old comes in. Touching weights is the best thing they can possibly do for preventing injury, for preventing joint issues, and just recovering from injuries, and not just gym injuries. I'm talking like cuts, things of that nature. Like, because everything that you're doing in here is strengthening the body's systems, all the body systems. Like memory can enhance even. It's really cool. Like weight training has a plethora of benefits. So for these females that are coming to you, it's like the joint, the injuries, and then just like how well you're actually going to be able to put on muscle and strength. Those are usually the three things that people are most concerned with weight training.
So let's talk about that. So first of all, welcome back to my channel. Victoria Scott with Six Pack Chick, and I'm here with Jared Feather. I have to admit, every time I think about your name, I think about a boxer. I think about featherweight. I know that's maybe a very female thing, but like...
It's the hair. There's a feather on my head.
So Jared is with Renaissance Periodization. I think the number one question that is on most people's minds who are new to weight training in midlife is, can I build muscle even though I'm over 40?
Right. Yeah, well, first of all, why should you even listen to me? Look at me. Look at me. Look at this haircut.
What do you know?
I have Crocs on. So I actually have 4
So
degrees.
last season.
100%, I know. So I have 4 degrees. I went to the University of Central Missouri. I got my master's degree in exercise metabolism. I have a sports science background and exercise physiology background. And I actually studied quite a bit of age-related changes in people. So this will be a fun topic of conversation for me because I'm usually talking about meathead bullshit where I'm just like bodybuilding and
how you gain more muscle the best way, be optimal.
which is a little bit away from that, a little bit removed. So to answer your question, again, what people are the most concerned with is, can I build that muscle? And the answer is, in short, yes, of course. Am I going to lose muscle? That's also another question I'm usually worried about, concerned with. And what we were kind of talking about before this was there are kind of age groups that we break things into: 15 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 60, and then kind of that 60 plus range. And you just kind of think about it this way. Have you ever trained before? If you've never trained before in any of those age groups and you start touching weights at 60, you could be 60 years old, 60 plus. Yeah. You're going to be able to put on quite a bit of muscle tissue because you've just never been in the gym before. And with that, you will also lead to other things such as preventing injury, helping the immune response, recovering from injuries better, all these things. So will you put on as much muscle as a 60-year-old touching weights for the first time, as a 15-year-old touching weights for the first time? No, but it's not going to be excessively and drastically different. You will peak a little sooner, like you might get 5 to 10 years of really good training, and then you start to notice the age-related effects of like, okay, now I'm not putting it on as I was. 40 to 60, it's the same thing. If you start at 40, you might peak at 60, and you're like, oh wow, I put on a lot of muscle in that 20 years. And you will. You'll put on muscle the whole time, especially if you're creating a healthy diet, coming into the gym 3-4 times a week. Even that's fine. You don't got to be in here every single day, all or nothing mentality, which is why it's really cool that you guys have this company, because you can just tell these women that. And that's the biggest thing with most people who get into it in their later ages is burnout. They're like, it's okay, that's it. It's 6 days a week and I'm going to eat 6 meals a day. And it's going to be all protein and I'm going to have some carbs in some meals and nutrient timing is great. And it's like, okay, just stop worrying about all that.
Yeah.
Come to Victoria. Stuff. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly
so
it.
I get the questions.
I've actually never heard that. That's funny. That's exactly.
Oh, I tell all the time, don't major in minor stuff. Like focus on the big rocks, and then we can like get nitty gritty later when you get there.
Look at these analogies.
Yeah. Oh, I got a ton of them. My only male car analogy.
Oh boy.
We do not want you to be a Prius. Okay, when it comes to your body, do not be a Prius. You want to be a gas guzzling Chevy Chevelle. That is what we're doing with your body at 40, 50. So we get your metabolism going, weight training, and we meet our clients where they're at. So I think the other common misconception is you go into a gym, a woman comes in, she's 50 years old, give her pink dumbbells, tell her to eat lettuce.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to improve your composition. And that is like a load of shit.
100%. Another thing we were discussing is there are kind of two mentalities around this. So one is when somebody's of older age, especially a female, they come into the gym and you'll see a personal trainer either stray them completely away from heavy compounds. So the things she's probably having you do, squats, maybe deadlifts, maybe doing some like rows and things of that nature.
Chest press.
Things that are hitting multiple muscle groups, which is why they're called like heavy compounds. They hit multiple prime movers in one go. Your biceps are getting to stimulation in those rows, your back, the whole back, the erectors, which is strengthening you for day-to-day activity, which is amazing because you're playing with your kids, you're outside doing lawn work, like whatever it is that you're doing for daily tasks. The stuff she's having you do in here, strengthening everything for you. So the other camp is, so you should either do these, and as long as you're doing them with controlled eccentrics, a full range of motion, there's like less joint stress than you're used to. So when you first start training, there's going to be some weird, you're like, oh, is that my joints hurting, or am I just like squatting for the first time in my life? And you know, there's longer warm-ups and things of that nature. But if you can get into those deep ranges of motion, and I'm sure she has like progressions for that, like maybe you go into a box squat first, and then you're like, okay, let's move that box or put it down a little bit the next week, down a little bit, and then before you know it, you're doing a full range of motion squat, you're hitting your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, you're hitting everything. It's really cool. You're hitting the whole lower body and you're strengthening yourself quicker. And the other camp is, well, we can still do that with machines and it might be a little safer. And that could be true. That could definitely be true, especially if somebody like Victoria is not there watching you or having you send videos. And I've seen some of the videos, so it's like, I know she is.
Videos through our app so that we can review their form and give them feedback and then help, identify where's the break, right? How do we fix that? What are some alternatives? Because again, if you're starting at 40 or 50, you might have a shoulder impingement, right? You already have some
you went through life.
Messed up.
You've gone through some life already.
Been through some shit. So here we are. We have to modify for that. And what I see a lot of times, a client comes in and it's like, okay, she's a female. Let's just give her some of these weird combo, triple axle, backflip, squat press, right?
Yep.
We don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that I'm going to give them 7 days a week of training. They're going to be doing burpees, a ton of cardio, and not eating food. And that's like the opposite of what we do.
100%. Yeah. Even the cardio training. That's right. Like you're not having them do crazy shit, sprints and stuff like that. Like just walk a little bit more. Go out with your kids a little bit more. Walk your dogs two more times a day.
Let's talk about what are the recovery requirements for a woman, because I just got off the phone with a woman yesterday who was telling me all this cardio that she was doing. She actually is a fitness instructor too. And she was telling me she's 52 years old. She's doing all this cardio and on top of teaching classes, and they're like attached to the cardio, right? I'm like, okay, well, I get that you like it, but also you do realize you're breaking down your body further and further and further, right? So what are the recovery requirements if you're someone in midlife?
So to those points, high levels of cardio, what we call it is like basically a residual effect, adaptive decay is what we call in sports science. What you do can help either either maintain other avenues of your physical fitness or degrade it. And cardio impedes muscle and strength the most. So if you're doing a bunch of strength training and like hypertrophy, muscle growth training, and you stop for a little bit, the quickest way to get rid of all that shit, go do some cardio. Go on long runs, go do a bunch of fitness instructing, go do long walks, 18,000 steps a day. So you want to find this happy medium where you're in the gym 3 times a week and all the extra cardio you're doing is not impeding the recovery for the weight training. And as you get older, that becomes harder. Joint stress, tendon stress, ligament stress. You might notice you went on a log walk and you're like, why does my hip hurt? You sat on a plane and you're like, why is my knee sore for 8 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. Like, as you age, bone health is down and all those other things I said are down. So you want to be able to focus that priority on weight training, strength training, so that you can then help offset a lot of that, especially the bone health, especially the joint health, ligament tendon health, because those are the things that cause big injuries. Like, I'm going to break a bone, I'm going to have sore joints some days when I wake up, and this can literally just offset all that. So instead of doing hours and hours of cardio and degrading what you're trying to do in here, maybe take some of that out a little bit, find your happy medium. If you just really, really enjoy a lot of cardio, you might want to come into the gym 4 times a week instead of 3, because that can definitely help. And then you'll just find where you like your body, what you like it to look like, what you like to feel like. It's all opportunity cost. I'm willing to give up this much cardio for this much feeling good day to day. And as you age, you're going to notice that you're giving up a little more cardio, usually to strength train a little more so you can still bend down and pick up a dang gallon of milk when you're 70 years old, you know?
Yeah, I think it's even for older men, it's common if a guy comes in, let's still get them weight training with heavy compound lifts, right? Getting into that mode. But I think there's still just narrative for females. If she's starting this for the first time, let's just give them like these kindergarten stuff. Like, they're not capable of learning weight training. Like, they're not capable of lifting heavier. I think on the surface, it seems harmless, but like when you really dig into like age-related disease and all the stuff that goes along with that, it's so harmful to not get a woman lifting weights. I showed you my client, Vicky, who is 59 years old doing squats, and she's practicing, you know, she's trying to get stronger.
That's a really good point too, because we're in the age group where fortunately the stigma around weightlifting has gone, it's basically gone away. Go to any gym in the United States, every 18-year-old female who likes to lift weights has a tripod and she's banging out like 225 on bench press. It's insane. They're still in that age group where like, that's what they learned. That's what they heard everywhere. Like growing up, like the way guys were back then.
Don't you go to the gym, not gonna happen.
Completely dichotic bullshit around all that. So go to the gym. It's especially great for older females, like you said, with age-related diseases and things of that nature. This is the best place you can be for your health, longevity. Again, like you want to be able to do those things as you age, and you're 70 years old and you sleep wrong. Well, you're 3 weight training sessions away from sleeping wrong and having a kink in your neck or not. And that kink in your neck can last like 6 months as you age. So just come to the gym.
Right.
Get your kinks in here.
Absolutely. So, and muscle starts to decline at a faster pace as you get older. So everything you can do to combat the loss of muscle.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be like depending on training versus biological age. If you've never trained in your life and from 40 to 50, you did nothing and there was a bunch of degradation of the muscle tissue, of the bones, all that stuff that we talked about, but then you start training at 50, you could actually reverse that 10 years. And now you're a 40-year-old again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
It
it really is.
So many women come to me and they're like, I just want to lose 10 pounds. I just want to lose like the belly, right? That's all.
This part, what's this part called?
The bat wing. I'm like, yeah, no problem, because I know, because I've seen it, how much further they can actually go. And it's not until they hit that first milestone that then they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could even do this. What can I do next? So I've had some women in the last year who want to do bikini competitions or they want to do a photo shoot or something, which I'm not a comp prep coach. That's not my jam, but I love.
Well, like
I'm just discovering.
Dieting down for a show
It's no fun.
at that age, also, it's like, yeah, you're fine. You can diet them down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to look good naked. You get into that point and you're like, all right, go to a deer photo shoot. Have fun.
No. They do it though.
Yeah, hell
it's
yeah. I love
awesome.
I love it.
So another question I get often is, how much do I actually have to lift? How often?
Sure.
Frequency?
Yeah.
3 days a week, 4 days a week? Does it matter? And like, what if I just want to maintain? Like, what's the requirement?
First, you kind of have to develop the goal. If I'm trying to gain muscle, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out there. Like past 50, stop worrying about how much you bench. Stop worrying about how much you squat.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about all that stuff. Like just focus on your health and longevity, and you're gonna thank yourself later. You're one heavy bench, one heavy squat away from a pretty shitty injury, which would suck. If you've been training your whole life and you were used to lifting heavy from back in the day, that's definitely done. If you've been training for a little bit and you kind of just want to test some stuff, you're probably fine because you haven't done that repeatedly. So you could probably do it here and there.
So I'm actually gonna stop you there. The women who I know who are getting into this now, they're influenced by social media, right? They're getting online, and the messaging that they're seeing is progressive overload. And it's not a wrong concept in the sense of like, yes, you need progressive overload, but it's the right message to the wrong audience. I feel like for younger people wanting to hit a max bench or get a max squat, great. But what's not being talked about is when you're older, you don't need to use heavier weights as a progression. There's so many other ways to hit a progression.
Well, that's the thing. Progressive overload is not just weight on the bar.
Right.
And that's potentially where the confusion comes from.
So what are better ways for an older person to have a progression?
There are tons of ways. So like she gives you a program. It's a 3-day week program. It's consistent in the exercise selection week to week. Week 1, you did a leg press of 135 pounds and you got 15 reps on your first set. You could do a few things. You could train slightly closer to failure the next week if you wanted to. So like if you felt like you had like 10 reps in the tank and you want to go down to like, I'm gonna push it a little bit this week, like 9 or 8 reps in the tank, you could add a rep, literally that simple.
1 rep.
Go to 1 rep up.
1 rep more.
You could add 1 set. You could add 5 pounds, not 10, not 30, not like, oh, we only go up if it's 45s type of shit, like all the bros do, like us men, we got those damn egos, you know what I mean? Like,
back another plate on.
It's not going up unless there's another plate, so it doesn't have to be any of that shit. It can just
add 1 or 2 reps,
literally,
or add an additional set,
100%,
same weight.
100%. And that literally is for the people who want to continue to gain muscle. If you want to maintain it, it's pretty dang easy. Every couple of years, it might be pretty wise for your volume to go up a little bit because it's going to require more volume. So sets, reps, weight, force times distance, all that stuff, the stuff you teach them, it's going to require more volume to maintain muscle as you get older. So you will have to do a little more.
I think that's where the confusion is, or maybe it's not clear. The messaging that I think a lot of people get are stack on more weight every week, and the progressions are like by the weeks or by the months, versus what you just said is add more volume maybe next year.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's such a more drawn out time frame than I think people think. Occasionally I have a client who's like, I wasn't able to add more weight this week. And I was like, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably don't need to.
Yeah, especially if you're just touching weights for the first time. You could come in here and do the same workout for like 8 months.
Oh yeah.
And you will continue to grow muscle for quite some time. You'll have to do a little bit of funny stuff like adding a rep, adding a set, adding some weight periodically, but you can just come in here and do basically the same stuff. To answer the question, coming into the gym 1 time a week for 30 minutes is better than never coming at all. Coming in 2 times a week is better than coming in 1 time a week. 3 times a week for somebody in this age range is probably best. And by best, I mean like other than doing the other 2. 4 is really good. And 5 would be excessively cool if like you're completely making a crazy change to your life and you're like one of her clients that wants to literally get on like stage or do a really cool photo shoot. 5 times a week might be really cool and you might make better progress, but it's gonna be like better progress by this much and you're really focused on the minute details. So why not just go 4 times a week and focus on your life? That's the whole point of all this. We're trying to be healthy. Oh,
and
I'm not healthy.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yes.
Fitness competitors are a little bit crazy, but we're talking about lifestyle here. Most of our clients do train 4 days a week. I've found that even at some point I will drop them. I see the recovery starts to tank. So we do a deload or I drop them down 3 days a week and you end up with the better results. And mindset wise, it's more sustainable with their lives. But it's the misconception is you've got to be going 2 hours. People literally think I train for 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it could not be further from the truth. And I am a champion fitness competitor. So as a lifestyle person who's just getting into this, that is like way overkill, right?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, you're literally a world champion and you go 5 times?
Right now 4.
4 times a week. And she looks like this.
Tell Andy that. Andy's like, wait, what happened to the 5th day?
You're like, well, what happened? Look at that.
I know.
Look, I didn't lose anything.
We're gonna talk about my training after this. My training split.
And to that point too, like I have worked hand in hand with some of the best pro bodybuilders in the world, and most of them are going like 4 or 5 days a week because they understand the importance of recovery. And it's even more important as you age, especially as a female. It's super duper important. Bone degradation seems to go down a little faster in females, so it is kind of like excessively important to get them in there and get them pushing some like heavier compound stuff with a solid eye, like with someone like you, like, hey, slow your eccentrics down because that's super important. If you ladies take anything away from this video, listen to your coach first of all. all. Second of all, very slow eccentrics on your lifts. Don't be dive bombing squats. And by that I mean, well, you'll see like an Olympic weightlifter just like dive bombing the squat and trying to use a stretch reflex out of the hole. Literally control it for like count to 4 in your head. Pause in the bottom, come up, and do that for everything that you do. Bent over rows, like you can come up for a little forceful, and then as you're lowering it, you're lowering nice and slow, and you're reaping more benefit that way, not only just for muscle growth, but to help protect yourself from any kind of injury, because injury occurs whenever you're doing all that weird jerky stuff. So get in here, slow eccentrics, maybe even pause sometimes, no jerking, and 3 times a week training, 4 times a week training, listening to your coach, you're gonna be solid.
Is there an ideal rep range?
Not like we said, in context of the weight that you're using, if this person can do 135 for 20, and I'm telling you the ideal rep range is 5, well, you're 15 reps from failing, so that's silly. Generally, when you see rep ranges listed, it's like, okay, so you're gonna do 1 to 5 reps. You're usually modulating the load to that, which the weight on the bar, and that's not good. We don't wanna be training in that rep range at this age. It's silly, unless you are literally like a 50-year-old female who decided she saw her like son or daughter do a powerlifting meet, and now she's gonna do one with them like in like 3 years or something. Look, you're gonna have to touch some of that. Like it's gonna happen. You're gonna wanna put on some muscle first and train safely, but it'll happen. Just get a really good coach and just be very, very mindful of how your joints feel and try not to hurt yourself. Like if that's literally what you're wanting to do, when you come
like a powerlifting competition.
Right. I don't know, you might have had some clients like that.
Couple.
Yeah.
Most when they want to just be active, feel strong as they're getting older.
Yeah.
I had a client one time sign up and she said she didn't want to have to downsize to a 1-story house.
Oh, wow.
Because you hear that, right?
Yeah.
Which is a real consideration.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
start
yeah.
thinking,
It is,
oh,
yeah.
I'm heading to 60,
That's
going
wild.
up and down the stairs. I don't want to have to be one of those people who have to go into a 1-story house because I can't get up the stairs, which is like mind-blowing to hear someone say that. But those are real considerations. And then, of course, I want to look hot in a bikini, right? So powerlifting is probably not going to do that for you and totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
I see a lot of women and men in their 50s jump on the CrossFit wagon, mostly because the social community aspect
100%.
is great.
Yeah.
But in terms of like safety, physique, what those goals are, not compatible.
Yeah.
So like hypertrophy training,
Yeah.
what you teach, what I teach, is going to actually achieve those goals
100%.
and have that longevity aspect
Yep.
to it. You like doing that other stuff once in a while, great, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, and that is the really interesting thing. Like when you're a bodybuilding coach for a while, because I also do that, you realize that there's not really like a contrast between just looking good naked and doing bodybuilding style training. It's like you're a general population client. You're going to be doing very, very similar stuff to what bodybuilders are doing. You're not pushing out all those heavy loads and grunting like my dumb ass in the gym. Like you're not going to be doing all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like that rep range is like 10 to 30. Training those higher rep ranges, you don't need to touch 1 to 8 to 9 rep range. Like why ever even do it? The slower an eccentric is, the more damaging an exercise is. So like if you have somebody doing a straight leg deadlift, you might see them dip into the like 7 rep range, 8 rep range, because that's a lot of time under tension, as you guys will hear. But most exercises, yeah, stay in that 10 to 30 rep range. Your joints are gonna feel great, especially if you're using those controlled eccentrics and not balancing and stuff. You're just gonna feel better overall. Yeah.
I want to do a follow-up on nutrition. What about supplements? What supplements should a woman midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s be looking at? Of course, creatine is always the one that's like, everyone asks me, what do you think about creatine? So I already have a stance on it, but any supplements, any things that somebody should be looking at taking at this age?
I mean, since you get asked that question the most, creatine is a fine supplement for anybody to take at any age. There's not really any negatives that I've seen in the data. It's gonna help you come into the gym and feel stronger. Actually, the entire purpose of it is to help you squeeze out a couple more reps here and there. So it will help you build a little more muscle. It's been shown over and over again in the data, like, yeah, it'll put on more muscle. And if you're putting on more muscle, especially as you age, you're gonna feel a little better and probably maintain that muscle better. So it's a fine supplement to take, and there are dosages for age-related populations. And I think specifically for females 50 plus, it might be like 3 grams or something instead of like, yeah, it's totally fine. Other things like calcium, vitamin D, iron, things that are going down as females age, especially like the iron, vitamin D side of things, things that males would, like this is specific to females, things that males would probably not need to supplement with, that's pretty damn important. Those types of things are very important.
Like digestive health, basically, right? Because you mentioned there's changes, biological changes with your intestines as you get older. So I do see that a lot. So we focus on a lot of digestive health stuff. People, they'll ask me about fat burners
Like-
and all these things.
Like
and I'm
pre and probiotics or
pre and probiotics.
those are intelligent because like what you're talking about is the large intestine goes through structural changes as you age, and it actually leads to more constipation in older individuals. That's why you see that kind of stuff, incontinence even. So implementing stuff like that's really intelligent. intelligent.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people do that, so.
And anything
super
else for recovery that might be helpful?
Yeah, just like healthy, balanced diet, like getting in those protein shakes periodically if you're too busy, making sure you're getting in the micronutrients is excessively important.
You're saying there's no magic pill.
There's no magic pill. I'm sorry. We still don't have it yet. It might be coming soon.
As soon as you have it, just toss it this way.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey.
It is smart to stay away from things like anything blood thinning, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm sore, I'm going to take some ibuprofen. That's literally the opposite of what you want to do. You want to feel sore so you can undergo the proper physiological changes to build muscle, etc. So if you go through a hard session and you don't want to tell your coach, like, I am like really messed up, just tell your coach you're really messed up so she can modulate the volume down a little bit for you. Taking anything like an NSAID or aspirin or something like that because you're like, oh, I'm too sore for today, I'm just going to pop a couple because I feel like you should really stop that stuff, especially as an older individual.
Soreness is good. With a little
Really
bit of
good.
soreness
Yeah.
to have that adaptation,
Yeah.
and then focus on nutrition, hydration.
100%.
I feel like there's a divide with older women. There's some who just like they really hydrate and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like good on it, and then there's the others that's like, oh yeah, I get 60 ounces a day, and I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
60 ounces.
They
Like,
have a little more
double
than that. Yeah.
And that's so important for managing inflammation and recovery and all the
100%.
stuff. So that's probably one of the biggest things. Focus on nutrition first and foremost. And
Oh, yeah.
there's no magic pill. There's very, very few supplements out there that we recommend, but we always focus on immune support, bone health, digestion, sleep recovery, things that are going to aid with that stuff. And then you'll layer in other things.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have like a company you send them to as well. I don't even have to tell you the exact things that are in there. Like I was saying, vitamin D and calcium and all this stuff, whatever company they work with, there are cognitive function. It'll literally just say cognitive on the bottle, or like heart health,
Yeah.
brain health.
We use Raw and Revive products.
Perfect. Those are great. That's a great line.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a great line.
I love their GI support and their greens. I do take their immune support. I take their creatine.
Yeah.
All the foundational stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that people like gloss over that stuff as if it's unimportant.
Yeah.
And they don't realize how much that stuff actually fills in the gaps.
Yeah, 100%. And as you age, those types of supplements actually help a little more. So like someone like us who pretty young, in the gym all the time, our diet's on point, you're probably going to see a little bit less of a benefit from using that stuff. But like you said, you're seeing some benefit, and as you age, you'll definitely see some benefit using it. So
So we'll do a follow-up video
Yeah.
on nutrition and
Oh, yeah.
aging considerations.
the metabolism.
Muscle building.
My metabolism's going down.
It's been a
We'll see if that's the truth.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much.
Of course.
This
Of course.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And we're going to go hit a workout real quick. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And please be sure to follow Jared Feather on Instagram. We'll link his links somewhere here.
And if you're really into this kind of stuff, we put out all kinds of videos talking about this stuff on the RP Strength channel.
Absolutely.
I think Mike has age-related videos already made over there on the member channel and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
So, and if you guys have any questions, comments, drop them in the chat. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and share if you guys enjoyed this video. And we'll see you next time.